Thank you so much, Shiva, for having me here tonight. Again, my name is Huizel. I am the founder and executive director of Hmong Museum. So Hmong Kuyo Hospice Kuchi prepared who had Hmong Nayate who had on pieces, but I might intersperse some Hmong in it too. But yo mo lu manchi la lu la tao ha. So tonight, I had a different tone for my speech that I had prepared, and but this morning I was at a funeral for one of my cousins, Nunya Pasia. He was only 47 years old, and so that's kind of where my emotion and space is, and it really made me think about legacies, right? We're talking about generations here, is the theme, right? Garden of Generations. And when I talk to all of you here, young people and parents, what kind of legacies do you want to leave behind? I work at Hmong Museum, and so that's like I hope that's my legacy for future generations. But I was really thinking about why it's so important for us today to do that. When we think about your generations before, I mean, even in this room, to be able to be in this room is the legacies of our great grandparents, right? Because of the decisions that they made, we're able to be in this room. Our great grandparents, great grandparents, for some of you, traveled out of China, right? Because they were oppressed and they were not able to practice their traditions the way that they wanted to. They were highly taxed. They couldn't be their own people. And so they left China, right? And their children were just children or maybe even just teenagers when they left. So when you think about if we had to pick up everything we had today and leave, right, to a different country, like how disruptive that would be for those families. They moved into Southeast Asia, and this happened over like 150 years. So multiple generations of Hmong people have been moving out of China because of all the different wars against the Hmong people in China, right? So from the 1700s to the late 1800s, multiple generations of Hmong families have been moving out of China into Southeast Asia, where many of our grandparents and our parents might have come from. But they didn't have that long of peace either. So if you think about it, if our grandparents moved out of China in the late 1800s, so like, let's say 1900, by 1950, the Vietnam War had already started, 1953, the Vietnam War had already started. So they had relative peace for, maybe 40 years, right? 40, 50 years. And when you push leave out of China into Southeast Asia, maybe they have just started farming, maybe they have just started businesses, and then they have to leave out of Laos to go and become refugees in Thailand, and then to come for us, to the United States. Some of our families, right, like our parents, they were teenagers at that time, or maybe they were even just children at that time. And they had to pick up everything that they knew and leave the life that they had to come here to the United States. So think about that for a second. For 3 to 4 generations of Hmong people, we have been a displaced people. Displaced peoples, it's very difficult to um, think about the future, right? They think about opportunities, of course, right? Because they want to have a life and make a life for their children. But it's really, they're still trying to survive, right? Like my parents, they came here, they were still trying to figure out how to navigate the hospitals, and they were still trying to figure out how to navigate, like even getting married, how do they do that? So our generation, your generation, like all of you out there in the audience right now, you are the first generation of Hmong people that are not displaced. And what that means is that it opens up these opportunities, right? We all have heard this from our parents, right? They want to have a new life for us. They want us to have a better life. And I think all of you understand that, but really think for a moment about that you are the first generation of Hmong people in the last 150 years who have relative peace. We have all these opportunities. We're able to wear all these wonderful Hmong, beautiful Hmong clothes. We're in this beautiful building. Your students, your opportunities are so wonderful. And what that also means is that you have the most potential to do something with your lives for the future, because you have the most opportunities compared to all the generations before. So think about the things that our grandparents, great-grandparents, our parents have given us. This is their legacy right here in this room. And think about what kind of legacies you might want to leave behind. So it feels kind of heavy, but it's really important, right? Like my cousin, he was only 47, has already died. And all of you, you're in college, and if you have only 10 years to live, what are you going to do starting today, starting tomorrow? This is Hmong New Year, you can make a new resolution for the new year. What is it that you are going to do so that you can leave the best legacy for future generations? So when we think about Garden of Generations, this is what it is. It's in this room right here today. For me, starting Hmong Museum was an important part of just learning more about my parents. Right? When we came here, there was no schools teaching about Hmong history. What they experienced nobody was teaching it. Search and so that's why I felt it was so important to start a Hmong museum, not for me, because my generation, we're done, right? But for the next generation, when I have kids, my nieces and nephews, I want them to have a place to go to find who they are. And it makes me think of Hmong Lulu, right? Jianye means lineage, right? Why did we call Jianye as lineage? Jianye is the roots. Jianye is the trunk and the roots. That's what it means. So our lineage is our roots. And if we don't have a place to have our roots, if we don't have a place that can really hold all of this knowledge, together so that it is really strong, then we're rootless, right? We'll just be floating around. We'll always be displaced. And so I hope that Hmong Museum can be that place where we are the roots, we are part of all of your lineage, to preserve your history, your stories, your experiences. I asked Hillary Lord to photograph me because we need to document all of these. I see you photograph everything. It's so important to look at, right? because Luna, like 10, 15, 20 years from now, someone's gonna want to know, and we're gonna have it. And so for me, that is the kind of legacy that I want to leave behind. Tonight, I'm gonna end by doing an ask of all of you to think about what it is that you want to leave behind for future generations. How do you want to show up as an ancestor for the future generations? And if you have children, I know you're already thinking about your kids and what you would like for them to have. And so think about that, take action, this is such a beautiful theme. Thank you, Shifa, for putting it together because it is so, so important. And I am so honored to be your speaker tonight, and so thank you for having me. Again, I am sitting there for a little bit, and you guys can also find me at Hmong Museum. We are located at Hmong Village, so come by and learn a little bit of some stories about some of our neighbors and so on. But otherwise, thank you so much for having me.